Today, we're going to dive into a fundamental rule of learning, one that connects our own brains to the future of artificial intelligence. And, believe it or not, it all comes down to one simple but super powerful idea: spacing.
So let's be real. We've all been there, right? It's the night before a huge test, you're chugging coffee, trying to shove an entire semester's worth of notes into your head. And in the moment, it feels like it's working. But what happens a week later? Poof! It's pretty much all gone. Well, this isn't just a bad study habit. It's actually a massive clue to how our memory really works.
So on one hand, you've got cramming, or what scientists call massed study. Yeah, it's intense, but the memory you form is super brittle. It chatters pretty fast. But on the other hand, you have spaced study, taking those same study sessions and just spreading them out over time. The result? A memory that actually sticks. And even more important, you get this incredible ability to apply what you've learned to totally new situations. That ability is called generalization. And let me tell you, it's the holy grail for us, and, as we're about to see, for AI too.
Okay, so how does your all-nighter connect to AI? Well, artificial intelligence is, unbelievably powerful, but it kind of shares the same weakness. It has this huge, well-known problem that researchers call the generalization gap.
So what exactly is generalization? Think about it like this. You can recognize your friend's voice, right? You can do it even if they have a cold, or if you're in a super noisy room, or even if they're whispering. Your brain just gets it. It generalizes. It takes the core pattern and applies it to all these new, slightly different contexts. That right there is a sign of true intelligence.
Here's the thing, though. AI really struggles with this. You can train an AI to identify a cat in like a million photos, and it'll get it right every time. But then you show it a simple cartoon drawing of a cat, or a photo of a cat in a weird pose it's never seen before, and suddenly it completely fails. It's like it memorized the answers to the test, but it didn't actually understand the subject. This brittleness is a massive roadblock to creating truly smart, adaptable AI.
So, if that's the problem, where do we even look for a solution? Well, a group of researchers had a brilliant idea. They decided to look at the undisputed master of learning and adaptation, nature itself. And they focused on this one principle that's been proven over and over again in biology, something called the spacing effect.
And this is so cool. The spacing effect has been observed in pretty much everything, from sea slugs all the way to humans. The idea is simple. Learning is just way more powerful and lasts way longer when you space out your practice. Remember that cramming session we talked about? The spacing effect is the scientific reason it's such a terrible idea. But here's what's really fascinating: the theory behind why it works. It's called the encoding variability theory. The idea is that when you space out your learning, the context is always a little different. Maybe your mood has changed, you're in a different room, your focus is sharper. All this natural variation forces your brain to create multiple, richer, more robust pathways to that same memory. It's like learning 10 different routes to get to your favorite coffee shop instead of just one. And that diversity is exactly what builds the power to generalize.
So naturally, this led to an amazing what-if moment. What if this spacing effect, this powerful principle from biology, could be the key to fixing AI's big generalization problem? Could we actually teach this ancient natural secret to a silicon brain?
And that's exactly what they set out to do. Researchers took these standard artificial neural networks, which are already kind of loosely based on the human brain, and they started messing with their training schedule. They systematically introduced spacing and variability, all inspired by biology, just to see if they could force the AI to build those richer, more robust connections, just like our brains do.
And they were incredibly thorough about it. I mean, they didn't just try this in one little way. They tested the idea at the level of individual artificial neurons, then at the synaptic level, that's the connections between the neurons, and finally at the network level, which is the entire system's learning process. They covered all the bases.
And the results? They were absolutely stunning and so consistent. Just look at this. Over and over again, they found this perfect U-shaped curve. If there was too little spacing, basically cramming, they got almost no benefit. If there was too much spacing, where the AI started to forget things between sessions, performance was also poor. But right there in the middle, there was this perfect sweet spot, this Goldilocks zone that gave a massive boost to the AI's performance. And that's the key. This exact same U-shaped pattern popped up everywhere, whether they were tweaking individual neurons, the connections, or the whole network. The principle just held true across the board. There is a just right amount of spacing and variety that can unlock an AI's hidden potential to generalize.
Okay, so the theory works like a charm for AI, but that leaves a much bigger question, doesn't it? Is this just some weird quirk of computers, or is it a truly universal rule of learning? Well, to find out, the researchers turned right back to biology. They designed this incredible experiment to see if the exact same principle held true in a living, breathing organism, the humble fruit fly.
So here's the setup. It's a classic experiment. They taught the fruit flies to be afraid of a specific odor, in this case something called 3-OCT, by pairing that smell with a tiny, mild electric shock. Pretty quickly, the flies learn, okay, avoid that smell.
But here's the real test, the moment of truth for generalization. After the training, they didn't just test the flies on the same odor. Nope. 24 hours later, they exposed them to a chemically similar but brand new odor. The big question was, could the flies generalize their fear? And would the spacing of their training have any effect on that ability?
You are not going to believe these results. Look at this chart. It is the exact same U-shaped curve they found in the AI. It's incredible. The flies that got the crammed training, they didn't generalize well at all. The flies with too much time between sessions, they didn't either. But the flies that were trained with that sweet spot, an optimal 15-minute interval, showed way better generalization. They hadn't just memorized an example, they had learned the rule.
Okay, so let's just step back and put this all together. What we're looking at here isn't just a clever trick to make AI better, or some interesting little fact about animal behavior. It's something much, much deeper.
It's a convergent principle of intelligence. Think about that. The same fundamental rule for building strong, flexible, generalizable knowledge works for both the silicon pathways inside a computer and the biological synapses inside a fruit fly's brain. That is such a profound link between artificial and natural intelligence.
The researchers themselves put it perfectly in their paper. They called it a convergent computational principle shared by biological learning and machine learning. What this really suggests is that maybe the best way to build smarter machines is to pay a whole lot more attention to the solutions that evolution has already spent millions of years figuring out. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Why does it matter? Well, first, it shows that the spacing effect isn't just some neat study hack for your exams. It's a fundamental operating principle for how intelligence actually gets built. Second, it's proof that nature can be this incredible playbook for building better, less fragile, and way more adaptable AI. And finally, by using AI to test these theories from neuroscience, we end up learning more about the amazing computers we all have inside our own skulls.
This work just brilliantly connects biology and technology, and it reveals this shared secret to how we learn. And it really leaves you with a fascinating question to chew on. If spacing is just one of nature's secrets, what other fundamental principles are still out there, waiting for us to discover them, that could help us build the artificial minds of the future?